Welcome to BARI Banter, where we talk everything bariatric surgery with the people that know it best, the patients. I'm Shannon, and I'm here with my co-hostess with the mostest,
Lita. So sit back, relax, and remember, sip, sip, sip.
Oh my God, Alita, most exciting news, we have new shirts.
I know, right?
We've gone from you can tell you with a graphic designer when she goes from she goes, oh, brand new shirts, it's so exciting. And she goes from navy to a off blue. Do you know the color of it? What is this? It's kind of like a dark green.
It's grey, you know.
Well, I don't know.
It's like
I'm not a graphic
charcoal grey.
But yeah, I thought it was quite entertaining. You went from navy, and it was a faded navy, so the transition was
anyway.
Either way, I'm grateful.
I wanted to get yellow or something just so that we stood out against our backdrop, but Kmart didn't have yellow shirts, and I don't really venture anywhere else.
So you had to kind of decide between being cheap and getting what you wanted.
Yeah. Then Shannon also commented on my style of shirt today. He goes, "Oh, you're wearing something a little bit different today." And it's because I'm wearing a men's shirt because they didn't have matching in the men's and the women's department in colours. So I was like, I'll just rock a men's shirt. It's fine.
You make it look good.
Thanks.
It's fine.
Oh, you're not biased at all.
No bias at all. What else is happening tonight? Tomorrow's my birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday for tomorrow.
I know. I thought I was turning 33 this year. Turns out I'm turning 34.
But by the time this comes out, you'll already be a week old. 34 in 1 week.
34 in 6 days. Not like anyone's counting. And the other thing is I started coding course tonight. Bit nervous.
I think you're going to smash it.
I hope so.
I just love that you were saying before you were sat down on the bed trying to download the program, and it was your first challenge is if you can download the program.
They said you were thinking, go download these programs, and I'm like, oh my God, this is just the starting thing. It's kind of making you code behind the scenes of a Mac and stuff, and I'm like.
But then at the end of it, once you downloaded it, didn't it say your next assessment is?
Yeah, so
it was
I feel
always
like it was
that
first assessment. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be entertaining. First lessons tonight, so I'm excited. It's kind of like stepping outside of my comfort zone and, in a different realm.
New beginnings.
As much as I step outside my comfort zone in physical stuff, this is mental stuff. And I'm excited because I just want to be okay, absorb it, believe you can do it, and fingers crossed, it works out. We'll see,
I think you'll do great.
Yeah, your face says a different thing. But either way.
I'm excited though because it means that you can help me with my business.
Yeah, that's winning too.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's introduce our guest, get her on and have a chat because,
that's what this is about.
Well, apparently. Yeah, so our guest tonight is...
Our lovely guest this afternoon is social, outgoing and strong in her own words. She took the leap in May of 2020 and since then has not only dropped 45 kilos, she's made many changes to her path. She's also had a pretty big announcement in the last week or so. Here to talk to her about her process and all the ups and downs it's had so far, please welcome Jade, also known on the gram as Jade_WLJ. Hey.
Hi.
I like you almost rhymed then. You were like, WS at Jade, hey. It was
what was it? I'm a poet and I didn't even know it.
Yeah. So Jade, it's been an adventure for you this whole journey. Having your surgery back in 2020, you were one of those COVID bariatric babies, we kind of it's how much they got baby boomers and they got the millennials and, with bariatric, we have the COVID bariatrics, where you had a little bit extra. What was it like having bariatric surgery during the whole COVID situation?
Well, I first was cancelled, then rescheduled, and then I was called a week earlier to come in a week prior to when I thought I was going to go in. So that was a roller coaster in itself.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then apparently part of it as well was COVID. They weren't allowed to release the gas in your body. So I had excruciating gas pain.
They weren't
something to do. Gas. Yeah. So normally, because you know how they pump up with the gas, they would expel it before you wake up. And something to do with COVID, they weren't allowed to do it. So everyone that went through it had really bad gas pain.
I have a look of shock on my face because I just imagine you waking up with your belly still super inflated like a balloon essentially.
Yeah, it was more the pain. So I woke up thinking, what, excuse my language, the fuck have I done? Because I was in excruciating pain and it took probably 2 days for it to go. And from what the nurses said, it was due to the amount of gas that was still left in us.
Wow. Yeah, because gas pain sucks. I know when I first had it, I woke up feeling oh my God, I'm so uncomfortable. My shoulders were You know, it just felt like someone like,
Yeah, that shoulder tips hang.
oh, man, that sucked. You know, especially with softies like me.
Yeah, well, you're
Won't
so
go there.
soft. Anyway, did you like obviously they changed your surgery date by the sounds of it 2 or 3 times. What did that mean for you for pre-op?
So I started pre-op, then I stopped it, and then I ended up, they wanted me to do 3 weeks, so I sort of just started it a bit earlier than with the anticipation that it was probably going to happen, and then I ended up only doing 2 weeks of the pre-op.
That was all fine?
Yeah. One girl I knew, we were meant to go in the same day originally, and then she was 3 days after me. She just did pre-op for 7 weeks, just didn't stop.
Whoa.
You know what cut my head then when you like said that? I'm like, it's like the pre-op that never ends. Remember that song? It goes on and on, my friend.
Oh, some people...
Some pre-ops start. Triggered.
Everyone's going to hate us for that now because it's going to be stuck in their head.
It will be. Yeah. But, you know, so did you have the support, like when you go in to have your surgery during the COVID situation, did you have, like, were you able to have people go in there with you and like afterwards?
Yeah, so I was lucky with that. I wasn't in lockdown, so I could have my parents and stuff visit. My husband was continuing working, so he stayed at home. But I did have my gallbladder removed in July of last year, and that ended up being a 10-day stint in hospital due to the public system, and I couldn't have any visitors for 10 days.
10 days, wow. Because you're in Queensland, aren't you?
Yeah.
So May, June, July last year, we didn't have it as bad as what the rest of Australia did. So, I mean...
No, so I think we ended up going into lockdown in August for about a week. Remember that? But around the time that I went in, we weren't actually in proper lockdown. It was just restrictions. And then, no one in hospital. So went to emergency and my husband had to leave me at the emergency door.
Oh my gosh.
Going into surgery for you, what did it mean for you? Like, kind of talk us through like your mental processing when you were like, okay, this is what for you?
So it was the first time I'd ever been in hospital other than when I was born. First surgery, never broken a bone. I've had 3 stitches under my chin and that's it. So from that aspect, it was daunting in itself because I'd never been put under, never had general anaesthetic, nothing like that. But I did do a lot of counselling and things leading up to it just to make sure I was in the right mindset. And I had probably, from when I decided I was going to do it, it was just over 12 months to get my head in the space. And I had quite a few friends that had done it too to be able to actually speak to them about what to expect from it. So I don't think it was too daunting by the time I was there. Like, I was ready for it and I was just over it after being cancelled 3 times. I just wanted it done.
So you knew a few people that had had it before, like that you were communicating with and kind of getting an understanding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really helped.
And did you think that 12-month wait, like I had to do the 12-month wait, and when my surgeon told me to wait 12 months, I was like walked out of there cursing because I was like, no, I want to have it done now sort of thing. But for me personally, I actually think that 12 months really helped because it helped me wrap my head around what I needed to do. I worked with a dietitian, I worked with a psychologist, and I really spent that 12 months sort of getting myself mentally and I guess nutritionally as prepared as what I could do. Did you do a similar thing or did you just hate that 12 months?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I still wasn't 100% sure if it was for me when I increased my private health to cover it, but I was like, I'll give myself the opportunity because I was turning 30. We're looking at getting married, knew we wanted to start a family, so I wanted to make sure I was in the best possible situation health-wise. And I just wanted to give dieting one more go before I made the big decision. So I had that 12 months to fully come to terms with it. My parents were probably the ones that need to get their heads around it the most. And my mum, she's tiny, and my dad's quite tiny as well. They used to run marathons and they're very fit. So for them, mum's like, oh, just eat healthier. And it's like, it's hard to do it that way because I've tried it so many times. Like through school, I was very fit, water polo, basketball, and then got into a toxic relationship and that just spiraled. So I'd done where I've put on 20 kilos, lost 14, then put 25, like just the yo-yos. But then as she started telling people I was looking into it, she realised how many people she knew that had actually done it as well, which made her a lot more comfortable than knowing people that had. But I guess people don't talk about it unless they know someone that does it because that whole stigma around it still, which is really sad.
You're like twinning with me what you just said was like exactly the same as like my lead up to the surgery as well. You know, like why don't you just try and eat healthy again, or why don't you just try and go to the gym? And like I played water polo and basketball, and I yo-yoed my whole life. Like we're totally twinning.
Yeah.
And so you waited that 12 months, and sort of how long through that 12 months did you decide, okay, this is what I need to do?
Probably about, I'd say 4 months in. So I think I still had about 6-7 months to go when I decided. And I still had people then like family telling me I shouldn't do it. It's the easy way out, all that sort of stuff. So I just stopped talking to people about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And one of my cousins, she was very against it. But now that she's seen my journey, she's a lightweight sumo wrestler. Like she's fit as. She's very like thankful that I did do it because she's seen the changes it's made in my lifestyle.
And what changes are those things?
Well, obviously healthier. I'm a lot happier with myself now. And I'm actually recovering from COVID. So before this, I was training 4 or 5 times a week at the gym and just a lot healthier in myself, not just from the weight loss, but obviously after the gallbladder as well. My immune system's better and just feel better overall. Yep. Like I can walk upstairs without getting out of breath now, whereas previously I'd be puffing by the time I get to the top of the train station.
Yeah, something I wanted to ask you is like rate your self-esteem now, like how you view yourself out of 10.
I'd probably say out of 7, whereas previously I was like a 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to ask.
There's some days where I'm like 10 out of 10, but yeah, today I'm just still recovering COVID. Didn't even do makeup.
Still though, like back then when you were 3, you're probably basing it on like the best case scenario. So you might have been like a 2 or 1. What was it that made you kind of like look at yourself back then that kind of way? Like what was the path that led you to feel like that?
So I think part of it was my toxic relationship, that when I went into it, I was not as fit as I was in high school, but I was still like a size 12, size 14. Coming out of that, I would have been 70 kilos. Coming out of it, I was 100. Got down to 90, and then I ended up just partying, and that's how I dealt with my breakup and that, and then got up to 133 kilos, which you ask anyone that knows me, they wouldn't believe that that's what I weighed. And it wasn't until I got on the scales and saw that I was like, okay, I need to do something about this. And it was even just not being able to buy clothes and things, like having to go to 14 plus stores, which is super expensive just to get a nice dress. And I started avoiding social settings, photos, and things like that.
Yeah. How much has it like made a difference for you? Because obviously you talk about like, you know, domestic violence relationship and stuff, and like having a new relationship, obviously, you know, it gels. Has that made a big difference for you as well?
Yeah. And I think for me, like my husband's amazing. He was with me at my biggest, I think. And that's for me something that's really it helps with my self-esteem, in that he wasn't with me when I was skinny. I then got big kind of thing. So I knew he loved me to me.
Yeah.
Whereas my ex used to put me down, and that in itself made me put the weight on, I think, just to have that sort of control over me.
Yeah, it's almost like Lita said it a few times in the podcast where it's like you didn't feel like you could do better. So you put up with that kind of stuff 100%. Because it was like, you know, it just belittled you so much that you just felt like, well, I just have to put up with it because, you know.
Like I knew that the way that he was treating me, like most of the time, wasn't okay, but you'd always justify the 30% of the time that it was really good. You'd be like, yeah, no, but he does this.
Yeah, that's it.
Like,
I got a flower once. It was great.
Yeah, like he emptied the dishwasher for me this one time. Like amazing. You know.
Yeah, well, for me, it was I was studying at uni. He was paying my rent. Like I didn't have to work. I was working 10 hours a week while going to uni and studying. But I also forgot that I could have just moved back home.
Yeah. So you get so trapped in those situations, hey?
Yeah. And I still got some of his family on Facebook, and like they comment on all my stuff, and they're like so happy for me. And even his mum used to tell me that I could do better after we'd split, because she like you don't realize the people that see it until you're out of it.
Yeah.
My mum called it.
Yeah. What called your? Oh, I was gonna say like you still talk to like your ex's family and stuff. Like she's the same.
No, I don't.
Well, the mum or something.
Oh no, that was like an ex from like when I was 18.
We kind of have like it as a normal conversation here on the podcast, but like
welcome to How Leader and Shannon talk to each other normally. So you're almost coming up to 2 in May. You'll be 2 years post-op, will it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So your goal, what would you say besides for the actual, like obviously the scales going down being quite a big goal, what do you think would be one of your biggest goals leading into surgery that was motivating you?
So it's quite interesting because my goals have shifted since I went into it. Like I had in my mindset that I was going to get down to 78 kilos, which is where I was when I was 22 after my ex and I split. It looked good. Like I looked back at photos and loved how I looked, but that changed as I went along because I've got down to, after I had my gallbladder removed, I lost about 5 kilos in hospital in that 10 days. So I got down to 85, which, because it was just due to dehydration, that I put it back on. So I'm sitting now around 91. So I'm, 12 kilos off? But I compare photos from then when I was 78 to now, and I actually look healthier now than I did then. So for me, the scales aren't such a mindset now where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to, and being pregnant now, there's no way I'm going to get down to 78 anytime soon. But my goal now is more that trying to just maintain it and make sure that throughout the next 6 months as well, I don't put on excessive weight, which is, I'm going private for my pregnancy, and it turns out my obstetrician is actually a sleep patient 7 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, and I had no idea. 2 friends recommended me to him because he delivered their babies. And then when I met with him for the first time, I was explaining the situation that I had to leave. And, yeah, he said that he'd had it about 7 years ago, so completely understands it, just needs to make sure. And he's talking to me about protein water. And, yeah, so it turned out really well. And it's a bit more comforting knowing that